Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala, Gora Mandala, Vraja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Kadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantam Anupetam Apeta Kritam Dvaipayana Viraha Katara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binedu Samsarva Bhuta Hridayamuni Manatosmi Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Utirayet Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Redantasta Yabhadrani Vedanoti Suritsatam Nashta Preshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vinadetvam Nayam Ranantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshaya Kshiptastakama Dhutarangamade Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. All right, so I'm very late today. Today will just be a 35-minute reading, not too long. I mentioned yesterday that I want to go through time again just so that we can get it, but I think I'm just going to read since I started so late. Sorry about that, guys. Actually, 15 minutes before I was supposed to read, I thought, I was really tired, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to close my eyes for 15 minutes, and I ended up closing my eyes for half an hour. So that's why I'm late. Okay. Maitreya Uvacha Iti te vanita kshata kalakya paramatmana Mahima Vedagarvata Yatasrakshe Nibodhame. Sri Maitreya said, O learned Vidura, so far I have explained to you the glories of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his feature of Kal. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahma, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. Sasar Jagrinda Tamishram Sasar Jagrinda Tamishram Tam Mishram Attatami shramadikrit moham cha mahamoham cha moham cha tamas cha jnana vrittaya. Hey, that's so strange. It's not properly sharing my screen. Huh. Give me a second. I don't know why it's doing that. Brahma first. Guys, give me a second. I'm gonna set up my screen. Brahma first created the nescient engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity. I don't know why it's not. Okay. I'm just setting up a second screen. Maybe that will work. Dang it, that also didn't work. Arg, this is really weird. Okay, maybe if I open... Okay, I know what I have to do. Now can we see it? Okay, I'm just gonna share not my full screen, but I'm gonna share this stop screen sharing. I'm just gonna share a window. Now this should work. All right. Okay, there. Brahma first created the nescient. Okay, I just read it. First created the nescient engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity. Purport. Before the factual creation of the living entities in different varieties of species, the conditions under which a living being in the material world has to live were created by Brahma. Unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material conditions of life. Therefore, the first condition of material existence is forgetfulness of one's real identity. And by forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death, although a pure living soul is deathless and birthless. This false identification with material nature is the cause of false ownership of things, which are offered by the arrangement of a superior control. All material resources are offered to the living entity for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of self-realization in conditioned life. But due to false identification, the conditioned soul becomes entrapped by the sense of false ownership of the property of the Supreme Lord. It is evident from this verse that Brahma himself is a creation of the Supreme Lord, and the 5 kinds of nescience which condition the living entities in material existence are creations of Brahma. It is simply ludicrous to think the living entity to be equal with the Supreme Being, when one can understand that the conditioned souls are under the influence of Brahma's magic wand. Patanjali also accepts that there are 5 kinds of nescience, as mentioned herein. Drishtva papi asim shrishtim natmanam bhavamanyata bhagavad dhyana putena manasanyam tatosrijat. Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity, and therefore he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation. Purport. Although he created the different influences of nescience, Lord Brahma was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task, but he had to do it because most of the conditioned souls wanted it to be so. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 that he is present in everyone's heart and is helping everyone to either remember or forget. The question may be raised why the Lord, who is all merciful, helps one to remember and another to forget. Actually, his mercy is not exhibited. His mercy is not exhibited in partiality towards one and enmity towards another. The living entity, as part and parcel of the Lord, is partially independent because he partially possesses all the qualities of the Lord. Anyone who has some independence may sometimes misuse it due to ignorance. When the living entity prefers to misuse his independence and glide down towards nescience, the all-merciful Lord first of all tries to protect him from the trap. But when the living entity persists in gliding down to hell, the Lord helps him to forget his real position. The Lord helps the falling living entity glide down to the lowest point, just to give him the chance to see if he is happy by misusing his independence. Almost all the conditioned souls who are rotting in the material world are misusing their independence, and therefore the 5 kinds of nescience are imposed upon them. As an obedient servitor of the Lord, Brahma creates all these as a matter of necessity, but he is not happy in doing so, because a devotee of the Lord naturally does not like to see anyone falling down from his real position. Persons who do not care for the path of realization get full facilities from the Lord for executing their proclivities to the fullest extent, and Brahma helps in that procedure without fail. Sanakam cha sanandam cha sanatanam atatma bhupu sanat kumaram cha munin niskriyan urdvaretasa. In the beginning, Brahma created 4 great sages named Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upwards. Purport. Although Brahma created the principles of nescience as a matter of necessity for those living entities who were destined to ignorance by the will of the Lord, he was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task. He therefore created 4 principles of knowledge: Sankhya, or empirical philosophy for the analytical study of material conditions; Yoga, or mysticism for liberation of the pure soul from material bondage; Vairagya, the acceptance of complete detachment from material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding; and Tapas, are the various kinds of voluntary activities performed for spiritual perfection. Brahma created the 4 great sages, Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Sanat, to entrust them with these 4 principles of spiritual advancement. And they inaugurated their own spiritual party, or sampradaya, known as the Kumara Sampradaya, or later on as the Nimbarka Sampradaya, for the advancement of bhakti. All of these great sages became great devotees, for without devotional service to the personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve success in any activity of spiritual life. Value. Sankhya, Yoga, Vairagya, and Tapas. Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, Sanat. I never heard that before. Okay. Tan bhabashe swabhuputran prajasrijata putraka tanaichan moksha dharmano Vasudeva Parayana. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. Purport. The four sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, declined to become family men even on the request of their great father Brahma. Those who are serious about gaining release from material bondage should not be entangled in the false relationship of family bondage. People may ask how the Kumaras could refuse the orders of Brahma, who is their father and above all the creator of the universe. Their reply is that one who is Vasudeva Parayana, are seriously engaged in the devotional service of the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, need not care for any other obligation. It is enjoined in the Bhagavatam 11.5.41. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitrinam nakinkaro nayam rini charajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihrittakartam. Anyone who has completely given up all worldly relationships and has taken absolute shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, who gives us salvation, and who alone is fit to be taken shelter of, is no longer a debtor or servant of anyone, including the demigods, forefathers, sages, other living entities, relatives, and members of human society. I like that verse. I want to memorize that one. Thus, there is nothing wrong in the acts of the Kumaras when they refuse their great father's request that they become family men. Wow, this is such an important point. Okay. Savadyata sutar evam pratyakhyata nushashanai krodam durvishaham jatam niyantum upachakrame. On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma when he tried to control and not express. Purport. Brahma is the director in charge of the mode of passion of material nature. Therefore, it was natural for him to become angry on the refusal of his sons to obey his order. Although the Kumaras were right in such acts of refusal, Brahma, being absorbed in the mode of passion, could not check his passionate anger. He did not express it, however, because he knew that his sons were far enlightened in spiritual advancement, and thus he should not express his anger before them. Diya nigramanopi Bhruvor madhyat prajapate sadhojaya tatanmanyo kumaro nilalohita. Although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between his eyebrows, and a child's mixed blue and red was immediately generated. Purport. The face of anger is the same wherever exhibited due to ignorance or knowledge. Although Brahma tried to curb his anger, he could not do so, even though he is the supreme being. Such anger in its true color came from between the eyebrows of Brahma as Rudra, and a mixed color of blue, ignorance, and red, passion, because anger is the product of passion and ignorance. Savairurota devana purvajo bhagavan bhava Namani kurume dhata stanani cha jagarguru. After his birth, he began to cry, O destiny maker, teacher of the universe, kindly designate my name and place. Idditasya vacha parma bhagavan paripalayan abhyadar bhadraya vacha marodis tatkaromite. The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request, and said, "Do not cry. I shall certainly do as you desire." Yadarodhi surashreshta sarvega iva balaka tatastvam abhidhasyanti namna rudra iti praja. Thereafter Brahma said, "O chief of the demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all people, because you have so anxiously cried." Oh yeah, Rudra. Hridindriyanya survyoma vayuragnirjalamahi suryastrandrastapaschaiva stananyagre kritanite. Yeah, Rodan means to cry. Rudra, I guess Rodan, Rudra. My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence: the heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity. Okay, that's kind of like everything, isn't it? It's like all the elements, all the senses. Anyways, wow. Purport. The creation of Rudra from between the eyebrows of Brahma as a result of his anger generated from the mode of passion, partly touched by... Oh, sorry, let me reread that. The creation of Rudra from between the eyebrows of Brahma as a result of his anger, generated from the mode of passion, partly touched by ignorance, is very significant. In Bhagavad Gita 3:37, the principle of Rudra is described. Krodha, anger, is the product of kam, lust, which is the result of the mode of passion. When lust and hankering are unsatisfied, the element of krodha appears, which is the formidable enemy of the conditioned soul. This most sinful and inimical passion is represented as ahankar, or the false egocentric attitude of thinking oneself to be all in all. Such an egocentric attitude on the part of the conditioned soul, who is completely under the control of material nature, is described in Bhagavad Gita as foolish. The egocentric attitude is a manifestation of the Rudra principle in the heart, wherein krodha, anger, is generated. This anger develops in the heart and is further manifested through various senses, like the eyes, hands, and legs. When a man is angry, he expresses such anger with red-hot eyes and sometimes makes a display of clenching his fists or kicking his legs. This exhibition of the Rudra principle is the proof of Rudra's presence in such places. When a man is angry, he breathes very rapidly, and thus Rudra is represented in the air of life, or in the activities of breathing. When the sky is overcast with dense clouds and roars in anger, and when the wind blows very fiercely, the Rudra principle is manifested, and so also when the seawater is infuriated by the wind and it appears in a gloomy feature of Rudra, which is very fearful to the common man. When fire is ablaze, we can also experience the presence of Rudra, and when there is an inundation over the earth, we can understand that this is also the representation of Rudra. There are many earthly creatures who constantly represent the Rudra element. The snake, tiger, and lion are always representations of Rudra. Sometimes, because of the extreme heat of the sun, there are cases of heat stroke, and due to extreme coldness created by the moon, there are cases of collapse. There are many sages empowered with the influence of austerity, and many yogis, philosophers, and renouncers who sometimes exhibit their acquired power under the influence of the Rudra principle of anger and passion. The great yogi Durvasa, under the influence of this Rudra principle, picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish, and a Brahmin boy exhibited the Rudra principle by cursing the great king Parikshit. When the Rudra principle is exhibited by persons who are not engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, The angry persons fall down from the peak of his improved position. This is confirmed as follows. Yenyeravan vindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta pavad avishuddha bhutaya arohya kritrena param padam tata patantyado nadritayushmarangraya. The most lamentable fall down of the impersonalists is due to his false and unreasonable claim of being one with the Supreme. Manur mahinasho mahanchiva ritadvaja ugrarita bhavakalo vamadeva dritavrata. Lord Brahma said, "My dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names. Manu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Ritadvaja, Ugrarita, Bhava, Kala, Vamadeva, and Dritavrata. Dhir Dritira Salomacha, Niyutsarpir Ilambika, Iravati Swadatiksha, Rudranyo Rudrate Striya." O Rudra, you also have 11 wives, called the Rudranis, and they are as follows: Dhi, Dhriti, Asala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swadha, and Diksha. Griha naitani namani stanangni cha sayoshana ebisrija prajabhavi prajanam asiyatpati. My dear boy, you may now accept all the names and places designated for you and your different wives. And since you are now one of the masters of the living entity, since you are now one of the masters of the living entities, you may increase the population on a large scale. Brahma, as the father of Rudra, selected the wives of his son, his living places. I'm a little bit, Let me reread that. Brahma, as the father of Rudra, selected the wives of his son, his living places, and his names as well. It is natural that one should accept the wife selected by one's father, just as a son accepts the name given by the father, or he accepts the property offered by the father. That is the general course in increasing the population of the world. On the other hand, the Kumars did not accept the offering of their father because they were elevated far beyond the business of generating a great number of sons. As the son can refuse the order of the father for higher purposes, so the father can refuse to maintain his sons in increasing population because of higher purposes. Iddadishta swaguruna bhagavani lalohita sattvakriti swabhavena sarsarjatma samapraja. The most powerful Rudra, whose bodily color was blue mixed with red, created many offspring exactly resembling him in features, strength, and furious nature. Rudranam Rudasrishtanam. Is it working? I think so. Anyhow, I don't know. Rudranam Rudrasrishtanam Samantad Grasatam Jagat Nishamya Sankyasholyutan Prajapatir Ashankata. The sons and grandsons generated by Rudra were unlimited in number, and when they assembled together, they attempted to devour the entire universe. When Brahma, the father of the living entities, saw this, he became afraid of the situation. Purport. The generations of Rudra, the incarnation of anger, were so dangerous to the maintenance of universal affairs that even Brahma, the father of the living entities, became afraid of them. The so-called devotees or followers of Rudra are also a menace. They are sometimes dangerous even to Rudra himself. Descendants of Rudra sometimes make plans to kill Rudra by the grace of Rudra. That is the nature of his devotees. Yikes. Alam prajabhisrishtabhir idrishibhish surotama maya saha dahantibhir dishas chakshurphir ulbanai. Brahma told Rudra, O best among the demigods, there is no need for you to generate living entities of this nature. They have begun to devastate everything on all sides with the fiery flames from their eyes, and they have even attacked me. Tapa adishta bhadram te sarvabhuta sukhavaham tapa saiva yata purvam srashta vishvam idam bhavan. My dear son, you had better situate yourself in penance, which is auspicious for all living entities and which will bring all benediction upon you. By penance only shall you be able to create the universe as it was before. Purport. In the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, the three deities Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, or Shiva, are respectively in charge. Rudra was advised not to destroy while the period was advised not to destroy while the period of creation and maintenance was going on, but to situate himself in penance and wait for the time of dissolution, when his services would be called for. Tapasaiva param jyotir bhagavantam adhokshajam sarvabhuta guhavasam anjasa vindhate puman. By penance only can one even approach the personality of Godhead, who is within the heart of every living entity and at the same time beyond the reach of all senses. Purport. Rudra was advised by Brahma to perform penance as an example to his sons and followers, that penance is necessary for attaining the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the common mass of people follow the path shown by an authority. Thus Brahma, disgusted with the Rudra generations and afraid of being devoured by the increase of population, asked Rudra to stop producing such an unwanted generation and take to penance for attaining the favor of the Supreme Lord. We find, therefore, in pictures that Rudra is always sitting in meditation for the attainment of the favor of the Lord. Indirectly, the sons and followers of Rudra are advised to stop the business of annihilation, following the Rudra principle while the peaceful creation of Brahma is going on. Maitreya Uvacha. We're finishing with this verse here. Evam atma bhuvadishta parikramya giram patem bhadamityamum atma mantra vivesha tapasevanam. Sri Maitreya said, thus Rudra, having been ordered by Brahma, circumambulated his father, the master of the Vedas. Addressing him with words of assent, he entered the forest to perform austere penances. All right. 1 second. Yeah, really strange thing. Right now it's saying, well, this whole time I've been reading it says that there's no people watching it, and I'm not getting comments. I can't see the chat or anything, but I'm pretty sure Indira Mataji is watching, so I don't know why it's not working. Anyhow. Tomorrow we will read, let's see, that was a really interesting part. So tomorrow we'll read about various manifestations from Brahma's body and mind, and how Brahma was distracted by being inclined towards his daughter Vak. Brahma's sons tried to dissuade him, but failed, so they prayed to the Supreme Lord. Brahma, ashamed, gave up that mentality. Then the four Vedas, Upavedas, Pancham Veda, Karma Tantram, four legs of Dharma, ashrams, arts, Vedic meters, and alphabets. We'll read about that creation. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Brahm Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pavishta Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pavishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nugurya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Pata Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadashaganath Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishya Bharata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Ki Jai Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Brinda Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai
It's 8
Anantapati
o'clock.
Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to try to go to sleep earlier tonight, and I won't feel tired in the morning. All right, Hari Bol. Sorry about being so late today.